Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Uh um Hello people. Hello people. Today was going to be a no stream day. And it kind of is a no stream day. But this news that just came out is so big that I reneged on just running away for the day completely. I'm going to run away for the day. But I feel that I have to make some sort of video. I mean, I'm a content creator, and League is my content, and this particular content is so I gotta frame this up. I gotta frame this up fairly. I am super biased, and in this discussion, but I think I have too much an ego problem here. So let's do this. Let's introduce this properly. This is bad news for NA League. What we're about to talk about is bad news. I'll talk about my personal feelings on it after. Just I said to keep my ego and biases out of it. But I really, you know, despite my personal opinions, I think this is ultimately bad news. Basically, what's happening is for those who aren't tracking, this is TSM basically announcing that they are going to be moving their org to a different region, which is China. For those who don't really understand the gravity of what this is, let me explain what this is to you in ABC terms. Okay, so TSM is arguably one of the most, if not the most successful esports orgs in history. They're so ingrained with League of Legends to the point of where people chant TSM even when they're not involved with the game at all.
So while it will make him slightly stronger in the side lane, he will not have that global available to him.
And you can hear
the TSM.
the TSM. I was gonna say, I just came out of that. I was like,
that's how iconic their org actually is. A lot of people will talk shit about TSM and say, well, recently they haven't been performing well, which is kind of true. There's no denying that TSM is an iconic organization for esports and the representation of esports mattering in North America. Okay. And, you know, there's already been talks about the smaller, the CLOL circuit, that circuit as well. The smaller pipeline is CLOL, right? That's the other pipeline. I want to make sure I get my verbiage right. Correct me, chat, if I'm wrong. But there's already that pipeline that's got a bunch of teams. This was already talked about this week about how all the other orgs weren't going to be supporting those like amateur pipelines that kind of get people into the pro scene. And now TSM, which is an actual org, is just leaving. And then on top of that, not only is there that, but it's also, there's this talk here, and you can see I upvoted this. Robert Haynes says more orgs are trying to leave NA. So it's not just TSM that's leaving. There's going to be other orgs or an org trying to leave the scene for NALCS as well. You need to understand that regardless of my opinion or your opinion on esports, there's been a lot of work from Riot and the League of Legends community to basically prop up this idea of LOL esports, and that it has value, that it matters, that if you invest in it, it'll pay dividends later, and that esports is something that's worth. TSM basically moving over to China is almost like the first big sign that like, oh shit, like this whole like League of Legends is not doing so hot thing in NA. This is like a very real, like, I don't think you guys realize. We content creators speculate, and I've said recently that like I'm not really in love with this game at the moment. I feel like the scene is like is miserable right now. I said the thing where I was thinking about I'm already like practicing getting into Valorant in my free time. I'm not really convinced about the longevity of the game. I said that not even a couple weeks ago, I think. So what this says is if TSM is leaving, and other orgs are seeing the writing on the wall and they want to start leaving as well. That means that all the money dumped into making esports a popular thing is essentially just wasted money. They threw money away, and all that money invested, teams are looking at the scene and looking at the viewership and looking at the game culturally and saying, ooh, I don't know if this is a good move to stick around anymore. Now, what that means for League is that, you know, people that look at this game and aspire to be a pro, they're not going to aspire to be a pro here in NA. And I'm pointing at the ground, even though I'm in Korea, but here in NA, like, people aren't going to look at this game as something to aspire to. Like, I want to be good at this game to one day. They're just going to say, oh, I would never be good at this game. It's so closed off now. I don't even have a shot in my own country. That means that basically all the hype around players like growing and getting good at the game, that is just not even a thing. And with no even dream, because as much as I always said that I think the dream of esports in NA is a bit of a lie anyways, I mean, some people still believed in it. I still have coaching clients that come through and say, oh, I want to be a pro potentially someday. The long story short is that there's no dream of being a pro anymore. All the pros that are coming up from NA were just kind of like clicked in. They maybe did a tryout. They knew somebody that liked them, performed at the right time, but it was very, very clicky because you already had a lot of imports coming in from Europe and China and Korea into our country to take those fat paychecks. But all those imports that we had didn't make it for a real region. The scene is still dying. And that means that once this scene is seen as something that people don't want to invest in and that their money's getting pulled out of, guess what? That dream is dead. It's not a career option anymore. It's not something that people are going to even dream of. What does that mean? So think about it. They spend all this money. They have all this advertising and marketing. The in-game client tries to market the pro scene even, right? All these things designed to make it seem like the pros, that whole league is super important, is super relevant, it is super popular and all this stuff. Now, teams are actually saying, you know what, NA? There's not, this shit's dead. I'm out. Even with all of that, that means that really, culturally, League, this is the first real sign that League is actually not doing so hot, guys. It's really not. I mean, this is big. Do you understand? Like, I've talked a lot of shit over the years about the game fucking up, but this is like, this is it. This is like end game. Let me ask you guys a question. Chat, I really want your interaction on this part, okay? I really want your interaction. Focus up on this question and be honest. When someone says to you, Chinese solo queue or Korean solo queue, what do you think? Players that actually take their roles seriously. Best in the world. Better than NA. Top players. They crush us. High skill level, no mental. Probably the upper echelon of League players. Try hard. Overhyped. So now we're going to do a bonus. When I say NA solo queue, what do you guys, what's the first thing you think of when you think of NA? Pointless, dead, toxic, retarded, Tyler 1, studying the game, numbers, DC jokes, amateur griefers, memes, zero mental crybabies, FF15. So this is the part of the video where I kind of unleash my own personal ego moment because it is bad for the game. It's very bad. But I am so fucking happy that NA Esports is dying. I am. As a human being, as a human, I fucking can't stand them. I can't stand LOL Esports. If anybody has followed my content and seen drama with these guys, with just like esports and these personalities and these content creators that are heavily involved in esports, I can't stand it. I can't stand esports because I think that esports actually destroys games. Now, hear me out on this because I love competitive gaming. I do. I was one of the only people when I was at Full Sail University at the time when I was there, whenever that was, 2007. I was one of the only people ever sponsored by my college to go to a tournament. It was the last tournament. It was when CPL like died. It was the Halo tournament. I love competitive gaming. I did the Fortnite thing. Remember? I went to a LAN, placed at a LAN. I did like the Winter Royale. I love competitive gaming. I've gone to tournaments, local tournaments for years. For years, I've gone to local tournaments growing up as a kid. Like, I love competitive gaming. But I truly believe, and I want to be proven wrong, but I truly believe that esports actually, like, I think that esports has the potential to destroy games. And I think this is an example. Think about it like this, okay? Riot has spent a lot of time making this subreddit the only place to really get any sort of good league information, and they basically pepper it with esports stuff. Imagine where I sit as a guy who's very competitive, who really, really loves solo queue, and the idea that, like, no matter who you are or where you're from or how little money you have or whatever, that if you're good at the video game and you play well, people have to take notice, right? I'm going somewhere with this. Hear me out. Esports on its face, right at the surface, esports is supposed to represent the idea that no matter where you're from or who you are, you can make it, right? So when I have guys on my coaching staff like Five Fire and Shogo who are really, really talented and never get a shot and perform well in those pipelines that we talked about, those dying pipelines, does it seem to you guys, chat, feel free to chime in, does it seem like if you are the best of the best, that esports will guarantee you a shot to be the best of the best? Because from where I sit, I see a scene that has fostered like this whole fucking thing about just importing players from other regions, and a scene where like players that were already involved in teams have decisions on who else could come into the fold, and it's not meritocracy based. And then you have the fans. So you have a scene where you can only get in if certain people like you, and there's no like real way to like make yourself known reliably. But then you have the fans who go out of their way. They basically build up like a following on these, and Riot like puts these guys in videos and shit, hypes them up. And don't get me wrong, some of them are great. But these LCS NA guys were not great. And they're just hyping them up, using marketing budget, all this shit to like prop these guys up. And they suck, man. They're not good. They're okay. A lot of them probably better than me. But in the grand scheme of things, for guys that spend all their time not streaming, not making content, think about that. They don't stream, many of them. They don't make content, many of them. They just grind silently, hide away with teams, coaches, diet staff, all this bullshit. And then they fly around and they go get shit on, right? Fine. I can't knock them for trying. But what I'm sitting here thinking is like, it seems like these fans of these people, right? They're not that great for what their time investment is, not spitting out anything real, right? And so they go out and they just get shit on or whatever. But then the fans, when you have someone like me, right? And I go and I spend years making coaching content. This is where esports is at a crossroads. And this is why I believe esports will always keep killing itself. It'll keep killing its own community and its games. Because I've witnessed firsthand an entire esports like ecosystem, from people on the shitty ass region that's going to be dissolved, from people at the top level regions, right? I've seen them attack content designed to help players improve fundamentals. Me. And like I said, I'm the fucking guy that likes competition. I love competing in games. But even the esports scene try to brand me as a casual player because I like coach players, right? So where I sit is I see an esports scene with a ton of marketing, a ton of money, and a ton of like really vocal fans, but none of them want to play the game. None of them want to live in reality. Like, I'm looking at a bunch of esports fans telling me, like, for example, my content is obvious because a bunch of esports orgs and a bunch of personalities, toxic personalities in esports, say, oh, NEACE coaching's so obvious. Really? Is it obvious? Because I can grab any random person. Chat, please be honest. What elo are you, chat? Random people in my chat. And I'm going to add a bonus question to that. Gold, bronze. What else we got? silver, gold, bronze, bronze, plat, gold, 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 iron. Now, chat, let me ask you a question. What do you think the average elo of a person watching an esports broadcast is? Chat, what do you think it's going to be? I saw like one diamond guy in there, maybe. What do you think it's going to be? Bronze, silver, gold, bronze, gold. So to me, I'm sitting here thinking, well, shit, the connection between bronze, silver, and gold to getting to the point where you could even vie for a spot on a pro league, right, is fucking massive and requires a lot of practice, dedication, and probably coaching. So when presented with the NEACE, when presented with the guy that makes a coaching business built around newbies, what did the esports scene, personalities, and then their fans, what did they try to do? What did they try to do? As soon as I started making really good money, all these people came out of the woodwork. This guy yells at his clients. This guy charges too much. This guy is not good enough at the game. This da-da-da. And they basically attack somebody who's been in the scene for years and years and years, who's played at top level for years and years and years, who's played other games at a top level for years and years and years. But the thing that is a kicker to me is that when they attacked me, I had never made any of my coaching around the idea that I was better than the pro coaches. If anything, I brought pro players on and said, these guys are amazing at the game, right? These guys know way more about the top level stuff than I do. But they couldn't, it's esports. These people are fucking crazy. They could not handle the reality that the esports scene isn't that great. It isn't that amazing, and that's okay. But if you build up the scene, the collective, well, guess what? I'd have no choice. I'd be like, all right, I charge a lot of money. If you want to be a pro, these are the guys you go to. Like, I can't help you anymore. You go to the pros will charge whatever they charge, and life goes on. But what did they do? They said, oh, NEACE isn't worth, however much money. So while I still am worth that much because I still get coachings, at the end of the day, all they did was just drive the value of coaching down across the board. Now everybody goes, well, anybody could coach. Anybody could do this. Da, 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 da. Well, now we're sitting here looking at an esports scene that's basically on its deathbed in NA, right? I'm still coaching noobs because the majority of the player base is noobs. All they did is just make it known that they're not that special. And that if a random guy can rock their fucking boat so fucking heavy, right? Maybe it's not that magical. Maybe no one really gives a shit if you know the perfect comp for like these very nuanced situations where you get like a very, very small subset of players that are in these little teams and these little click pockets. They get to practice against one another. It's all ridiculous. So for me, I'm happy as a clam. I love seeing it. I am sad because, the game, I think, I've been doing for a long time. I think this is actually, again, this is probably going to be the last year or so where it's really, really relevant, at least in NA. But a part of me is just like, fuck you guys. It sucks for you, but you had a chance. They had a chance. They could have built it up. I hate to break it to you, but this is going to be a tough thing to hear. And this comes from like a mega, I need you to hear me out, because getting to this level took a lot of work, but I didn't need, do you understand? Like, I needed fans. I needed you guys, but I didn't need to beg. I didn't need to beg somebody to bring me on a team. I didn't need to shit on somebody else's career to stay here. You understand? I didn't need to look at a guy who could potentially replace me and go, nah, this guy's not. He doesn't have good team leadership skills. He can't be on our roster. He can't. Knowing like simultaneously that if that guy gets a shot, right? If that guy gets a shot, like I would lose my job. The dream is being someone like me, dude. That's the real dream. That's the viable dream. Do you understand what I mean? Not like I think I'm better than you or anything. I'm saying that I am not special at all. There is nothing special about anything I do. I fucking work a lot, right? I try really, really hard, and I try really, really hard to be honest, right? And just be real. I don't put on a costume. I don't lie. If a person in the chat annoys me, I tell them they fucking suck ass. Go fuck yourself. I'm not fake to you guys. I try really, really hard to do that. And guess what? If you do that, you can make it. And Riot doesn't own you. None of these people own you, right? And you don't have to kick everybody down to be here. You don't have to do that. Like, that's my thing. Solo queue represents that, right? Esports does not represent that. You can't do it on your own. It's supposed to be, if you're undeniably good, you get a shot. You get a shot. You may not make it, but if you're undeniably good, you'll get a shot. If you work hard, you'll get a shot. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be, oh, I don't like this guy. He's better than me. He does not get a shot. Like, I don't want him on the team. Fuck him. Right? It's not supposed to be, oh, the fans, this guy doesn't have enough fans, so he doesn't get a shot. Oh, this guy's older, so he doesn't get a shot. Do you understand what I'm saying? I have a dream that people will one day realize that this crazy, obnoxious, old white guy who doesn't give a fuck about esports at all, maybe the guy that like keeps wiggling his way around League of Legends and around content creation, maybe somebody will look at this crazy guy and think, oh, maybe his ideas are working. Maybe he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Maybe the guy that said within 24 hours that Champions Queue would die so quick knows more than the 10,000 esports fans that argue with him and tell him that he's just jealous that he's not a pro. Maybe I know a little bit about how business works. I don't know. I could just be old and stupid. I don't know. But man, I love it. I love it. I honestly just wanted to come in and talk to you guys about this. I think I got everything I said out. You know, the future of League is not bright. It's not. You know, if anybody from Riot is listening to my rant and is in that company, and I know there's some of you motherfuckers that are, hear me. I see you. I know you're there. You know how I know you're there? Because I get messages from some of you guys. Hear me out. You're at this job. You care about this fucking game, right? I urge you, I implore you, realize something. Believe it or not, people still give a shit about the actual game, the solo queue game. That's why people watch these streamers. Ignore the esports. Ignore the bullshit. Let's get back to what makes video games good. Okay? Hear me out. Hear me out. Ladder. One hard reset, one time. Anybody above plat goes to plat. Anybody below plat goes to bronze 4. No duo beyond plat. Every win gives you 20. Every loss loses you 20. No dodging anymore. An incentive at the top end of the ladder. Start Riot Point incentives at Masters. Move them up to cash at Grandmasters and beyond. You can still own everything. You know how? Have your commentators commentate solo queue matches. Incentivizes Riot having some sort of share in the action. And it incentivizes Riot to police games where people grief and troll at the top end. And just remove players. Player griefs, ruins a high-level game. He's gone. Just ban him. Don't make a fanfare about it. Just ban him. And if someone bitches on social media, say, we don't care. We want our ladder to matter. Go fuck yourself. Done. Done. What's that cost? That costs less than esports, the one that they're running. That's such a good question, Patrick, because they invested millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of useless dollars to useless fucking nobodies, right? Who probably, some of them would have just made money in the system that I'm proposing anyways, but some of them probably wouldn't. And that's the beauty of meritocracy. Do I have any questions before I go? I think I said everything. I think I've put it all out there on the table, right? Like, I've made it clear how to fix the game. I made it clear why I think esports is bad. I made it clear why I think this is really bad for League. I'm going to play Valorant after I get offline. There's a PC bong not even a mile away from me. I'm going to walk over. I got some friends. I'm starting to train on Valorant. Who wants to see if an old dude could climb in Valorant? Because regardless, even if it's a Riot game, no one's going to own me, motherfucker. Just saying. That ain't happening. Well, hey, for what it's worth, I intend, like I said, I intend to keep fucking around with my climb. I'm not quitting the game. This is the darkest. I've never seen the game this. I've never seen the outlook on the game this bad. Well, I think I've said my piece. I've given a lot of you guys some stuff to think about. Think about what I said. I hope I've brainwashed some of you to really like stop. When you're seeing this shit happening in esports, I want you to stop and think about the conversation that we just fucking had. And think about when you read some shit from these fucking esports people, these fans, like getting all like going with the whatever these guys say. Like, I hope you think long and hard about what we talked about today, because this is the first step in many steps where this shit just starts falling apart. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully somebody in here was fucking in Riot and heard what I said, and maybe we'll get some real changes, especially for the NA peeps and then across the world. But I have to go now. I am going to chill. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you guys tomorrow.